Hey guys, tonight we chase dust across a forgotten sky. The saddle creaks beneath you, and a raw wind scratches across your cheeks as the steppe rolls out like a crumpled carpet. Ahead lies a faint thread of hoofprints disappearing into the horizon, and behind you, the horizon stirs with ghosts. You're a rider now, one of the chosen few trusted to carry whispers across continents. But if you fall behind, well, let's just say Mongol couriers have a habit of vanishing without ceremony. You probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and what time is it by you right now? Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your horse snorts and jolts forward before you've even tightened the reins. The creature's half, wild blood remembers the battlefield. Your only job is not to fall off. Beneath you, the earth rises and dips like an ocean made of roots and bones. There are no roads here, only wind trails and memory. Your days into the route, halfway between Karakoram and a cluster of yurts so tiny they might blow away by dusk. The horizon is enormous, the kind that makes you feel like you're being watched from every direction. The only mark of your civilization is a strip of trampled grass, a stained leather map rolled into your saddlebag, and the brass, studded saddle creaking with every gallop. Each breath you take carries the taste of dust and sun. Your lips crack without complaint. Somewhere behind you, there was once a feast. But Mongol messengers don't get to linger. You live on hardened cheese, dried meat, and arog, fermented mare's milk that burns like regret going down. The old courier who handed you your route told you it. Builds courage in the stomach. That or ulcers. The wind carries no bird song, just the low thunder of hooves. Your own, and maybe others. You've heard tales of phantom riders who follow couriers, their faces wrapped in red silk, never blinking. No one knows if they're protectors or reminders. You'd rather not find out. To your left, the sky curls upward in pale blue. To your right, a tiny cloud kicks up from the dry earth. It might be a rabbit, might be a bandit. You pull your bow slightly forward. Not enough to threaten, just enough to remember it's there. Your saddle bears a scratched engraving near the horn. A family symbol, maybe, or a warning. The courier before you left it behind without explanation. You wonder if they made it back. Most don't, or they do, but they're different. The ride isn't constant gallop. You have to pace the horse, feel its rhythm through your thighs and hips. Every shift in wind tells a story. If the breeze slows, there might be a relay station nearby. If it smells of dung and sweat, you're getting close. You become a creature of instinct, smelling your way to civilization like a fox in leather armor. Even the sun tells time differently out here. It hangs longer above the plain, refusing to fall until you've nearly forgotten what rest feels like. When you finally allow the horse to slow, the world goes quiet in a way that feels holy. You dismount and walk beside your mount, letting the muscles in your legs scream quietly. There's a myth you've heard about the sky itself being a great lid, and riders like you are fleas racing across it. The gods peek down through the cracks, waiting to see who falls off the edge. You chuckle. Or maybe that's just the dehydration. Then, a flicker ahead, a crow, just one, perched on a pole, a station. Relief flows through your shoulders. These relay outposts are lifelines. They offer new horses hard-bred news. Sometimes even gossip from the capital. More often, a wrinkled woman ladling out stew that tastes like melted stone. But after hours of riding, it might as well be nectar. The station is nothing more than a squat wooden shelter with a narrow stable and smoke curling from a low chimney. One horse whinnies as you approach. Yours answers. There's something comforting in knowing they recognize each other before you do. A boy not much older than 15 emerges, bow slung across his chest. His eyes sweep over you in a way that suggests he's already guessed your name, rank, and bowel schedule. He gestures toward a trove. You dismount slowly, legs trembling. Your thighs are wooden. Your fingers twitch as you untie the saddlebag. A black scroll tube peeks out, still sealed. Good. You step into the station. The air shifts, suddenly thick with haze, smoke, and sweat. The smell slams into your memory like a door. A bowl of gruel sits steaming near the hearth. Millet, probably, with onion if you're lucky. No one speaks. The boy reemerges with a fresh horse already saddled. You exchange mounts like handing off a piece of yourself. Your old horse will rest here until its next journey, or until the steppe claims it. Before you leave, your fingers brush across the saddle horn again, the scratched brass glinting in the firelight. The older courier at the back of the room, wrapped in wolfskin, leans forward. His voice is gravel and dust. That saddle's seen more ghosts than you have fingers. You nod. That feels true. Then you mount again. Outside, the wind has changed. The boy doesn't wave. He doesn't need to. You ride into the breath of dawn, where the cold bites like an insult, and your fingers go stiff before you can adjust your new reins. The horse is leaner than the last, built for speed, not comfort. And you quickly learn it hates you. Or perhaps it just hates everyone. The creature's ears twitch at every breeze, every flapping bird wing, every shadow on the grass. A courier horse doesn't need to like you. It just needs to run until it drops dead. You'd prefer it didn't do the latter with you on it. Within an hour, you reach the edge of what looks like nothing, but is, in fact, the next lifeline in this chain of vanishing paths, a modest wem post barely larger than an outhouse. A stone marker beside it reads something in old Yugur script. Probably, don't steal the millet. You don't dismount immediately. Instead, you circle the post slowly, eyes searching for signs of wear, hoofprints, ashes, discarded tools. You've been warned. Some Whammam stations are traps. Bandits sometimes kill the handlers and wear their coats. You only need to fall for that once to ruin your retirement plan. But this one smells right, like smoke, manure, and wet wool. The door creaks as you push it open. Inside, it's barely warmer than the air outside, but it's a break from the wind. A pot of something thick and lumpy simmers on a clay stove. Millet gruel, maybe with dried apricot if you're lucky. If not, boiled turnip peel. A woman squats by the fire, face lined with stories you'll never hear. She nods but says nothing. You sit. The floor creaks with every movement. On the far side, a young boy with a lazy eye sharpens a horse bit with calm, brutal precision. The gruel is served in a cracked clay bowl, too hot to hold properly. You sip, then blow, then sip again. It's horrible, but in a nostalgic way, like your first heartbreak or an overly warm fur hat. It tastes like you've been doing this job too long. Your horse stomps outside, impatient. These horses know the timing better than the riders. 25 miles. That's the rule. Every station is spaced just far enough to stretch the horse, not snap it. Genghis Khan's idea, supposedly. A relay system across the empire so smooth, you could send a message from Korea to the Caspian Sea in a matter of days. And they did. Scrolls wrapped in leather, carried at speeds that would make even your best merchant weep. Sometimes, two riders carried the same message for redundancy. If one fell, the other survived. Maybe. Sometimes neither did. The scroll would arrive months later, blood-stained, cracked, and still sealed. You finish the bowl and leave it by the hearth. The woman hands you a bundle wrapped in oiled leather, dried meat, horse, jerky, you nod thanks. Still no words. Outside, the wind has shifted. You mount the new horse. This one is gray, mottled with eyes like judgment. It doesn't flinch as you climb on, which makes you nervous. You don't ride immediately. Instead, you pull the scroll tube from your side and examine the wax seal, lion-shaped, Persian. That means diplomacy, probably something about borders or grain taxes, or who gets to marry whom across rivers no one can spell. You wonder if it's a love letter. You hope it isn't. You tuck it back and ride. The yamen post shrinks behind you until it's just a stick in the grass. You hum a chant under your breath, one the older couriers taught you. It's not quite a prayer, not quite a song, just something to keep the wind from getting inside your bones. Ahead, the earth rises slightly, and you see the remains of a post burned down seasons ago. Charred timbers, a sun-bleached skull, and the faint metallic glint of a pot left too long in the fire. You urge the horse faster. The miles pass beneath you in a rhythm that doesn't belong to humans. You start counting hoofbeats to keep sane, but somewhere after 8,000, your brain forgets how to math. The only numbers you remember are 25. 25 miles per leg. 25 days to deliver. 25 things that might kill you before you finish. The wind smells different again. Richer, heavier, like the promise of meat. And sure enough, as the sun climbs higher, you spot the next station. This one is bigger, 2 huts, a fenced paddock, a smoking fire. A herder waves lazily, probably mistaking you for someone else. You don't correct him. As you dismount, a child runs forward and tries to tug the scroll tube from your hip. You grip it tighter than you mean to, and he laughs. Mocking, not mean. He points to your saddle. There, tucked into the seam, is a piece of hide you hadn't noticed before. It's stiff, curved, and marked with what looks like charcoal ink. A map. Tiny, curved symbols mark a path not shown on the standard route. It snakes past the next few yamen posts and cuts east into the hills. You glance around. No one seems to notice or care. You fold it quickly and shove it into your boot. Later, you'll ask someone about it, but not here, and not yet. The map rubs against your ankle as you ride, a stiff reminder that your road might not be your own anymore. You don't pull it out, not yet. Not until the land opens wide again, and no one watches but the birds. Even then, you only peek. The leather is old, probably repurposed from a water skin, the ink nearly flaking off. The path it shows veers off from the official one. 2 days ahead, at a crooked tree labeled only with a black dot and a strange hooked mark that might be a bird, or maybe a trap. It's not the kind of thing a courier finds by accident. The sun has reached its cruelest point in the sky when you crest a ridge and find a flat plateau littered with bones. Not human, thankfully. Horse bones, mostly. Scattered like dice across a gambler's table. Most are clean, picked by crows, polished by wind. A few still wear leather bridles. One has a boot resting beside its skull. You tighten your grip on the reins. Then a shadow crosses the sky. You look up. A falcon. Not just any falcon. A royal courier bird, tethered with red silk thread and tiny bronze bells at its legs. It circles you once, then cries out. A sound like a metal hinge screaming into the sky. You instinctively duck, then laugh quietly. You've heard stories. The best riders raced these birds. Horse against feather, man against sky. Sometimes it wasn't even about delivering messages. It was a test, a show of discipline, or entertainment for a bored can. Sometimes they let the falcon win. Sometimes they didn't. You urge your horse into a gallop, not because of the bird, but because you can. The plateau stretches flat and fast, and the air buzzes with heat and altitude. It's the kind of place where you can forget time and just feel motion. The falcon wheels above you, then shoots forward. You follow. The leather map is still in your boot. You consider stopping, consulting it again, but then the falcon circles back and lets out another shriek like it's taunting you. So you accept the challenge. You lean low over the saddle. The horse seems to understand. Its ears flatten and its stride lengthens. You pass a cluster of upright stones, memorials maybe, or warnings. The falcon banks sharply to the right. You follow. The map can wait. This is instinct now. For nearly an hour, you and the falcon race across the steppe, winding through valleys, past patches of wild onion and brittle grass. You catch yourself smiling absurdly. This is why some riders never come back, not because they fail, but because they don't want to stop riding. Then, without warning, the falcon vanishes into a patch of low cloud. Your horse falters, sensing something wrong. You pull back gently. The silence that follows is too sudden. Even the wind has stopped. You dismount. You stand in the middle of the plains, alone. The sun has dipped just enough to stretch the shadows long. Your heart beats hard in your ears. And then, from somewhere behind you, a flutter. The falcon lands. Not on your shoulder, not like in stories, but close. A few feet away, it drops something. You walk over slowly. The bird stares at you with one eye, unblinking. The object is a scroll, small, sealed in red wax. You pick it up carefully. The seal is familiar, your own postmark. But you didn't send this. It's addressed to no one, just a symbol, a circle with a line through it. You glance up. The falcon is already gone. You tuck the scroll away and mount again, slower this time. The plateau ends in a rocky descent, and your horse picks its way down with practiced hooves. At the bottom, the terrain changes. Less grass, more dust, more wind. You pass a small cluster of tents barely visible against the hills. A fire flickers, but no one comes out. They're watching. You don't stop. Hours later, as the sky bruises purple, you reach a post station where the fence has fallen and the door swings open on a single hinge. No fire, no handler, no sound. You consider riding on. But your horse needs water, and your bones need to be horizontal, if only for a moment. You lead the horse around back. There's a trough with enough water to pass for safe. You drink some yourself, then splash your face. The cold hits you like memory. Inside, the station is empty. A blanket lies folded in the corner. Someone was here recently. A bowl of gruel, half eaten, sits on a stool. Steam still curls from it. You don't touch it. Instead, you lay your saddlebag near the hearth, sit against the wall, and let your eyelids fall halfway shut. Just enough to rest, just enough to feel the day bleed away. Outside, the wind picks up again. You think of the falcon. You think of the map in your boot. You think of the scroll with your seal but no name. And you wonder, who is watching whom? You wake before the sun does, muscles stiff and your mouth dry as sandpaper. The gruel is cold now, crusted at the edges, untouched. You still don't eat it. Something about it feels wrong, like it wasn't meant for you. Your horse is already awake, snorting quietly and pawing at the earth like it had a dream and didn't like the ending. You cinch the saddle tight and mount without speaking. The sky glows pale orange at the edges. Another nameless day begins. The route veers north today, where the grass grows wild and the wolves stay further back. But the air is thinner, the climb steeper, and the scent of danger lingers like wood smoke. You ride in silence for most of the morning, letting the rhythm of hooves settle your thoughts. The scroll from the falcon still rides in your pouch, whispering nothing, refusing to rattle. Around midday, your stomach reminds you that a courier runs on more than legend and leather. You reach down to the pouch the woman from the last post handed you. Thin strips of meat, tightly packed. Horse jerky, probably, or goat, or something that used to run fast. Either way, it tastes like old fear and sweat-soaked linen. You chew slowly. You've eaten while riding before. Everyone does. But today's terrain doesn't allow for lounging. The path narrows between rocky outcrops, forcing your horse to pick careful steps while you hold on with one hand and chew with the other. By now, your stomach has adjusted to the absurd diet. Dried cheese so hard it could be used as currency, chunks of fat wrapped in hide, and the infamous fermented mare's milk, erag. You sip it from a goat bladder tied to your saddle. It tastes like betrayal, but it wakes you up, so you keep drinking. You remember what the old courier said when he handed you your first bladder of it. Drink this, and your blood will learn the steppe. Spit it out, and the steppe will spit you out first. He wasn't joking. You've seen couriers curled up behind broken posts, too proud or too foreign to drink what the land gave them. They didn't last long. As you ride, you pass a cluster of bone piles, small animals, maybe a fox or two. Buzzards watch from above, silent judges on windless wings. You mutter a curse out of habit and toss a small piece of jerky over your shoulder. A ritual. A bribe. Who knows? The sun is high again when you smell smoke, not wood, but dung. That's a good sign. Dung smoke means warmth, means people. A post is near. And there it is, tucked behind a hill, a felt yurt with steam curling from the top, flanked by a wooden paddock and a low shelter that passes for a stable. 2 men and a girl sit cross-legged near the fire, roasting something on skewers. They don't greet you. You're just another courier, dust on the wind. You dismount. The younger man offers you a skewer wordlessly. It smells like lamb. You take it. It tastes like something between heaven and hooves. While you eat, they speak softly among themselves in a dialect you don't recognize. Probably from the western roots. You catch a few words. Eagle, river, lost. But you're too tired to piece it together. Your horse is led away, and another brought out. This one's older, wiser, the kind that doesn't need reins to know where to go. You brush your fingers along its mane and find something knotted into it, a small charm of blue beads and a bronze coin. You leave it there. You sleep for 1 hour in the shade, just enough to reset your bones. When you rise, the sun is already beginning its slow descent. You mount again. Not long after, the landscape shifts. The hills rise like ribs from the earth, and the wind begins to carry strange sounds, echoes, half voices, the flap of distant birds. You've entered wolf country. You keep your erag close and your knife closer. There's a saying, in the steppe, you're never the top of the food chain, just the fastest bite. Around the bend, you spot a flash of movement. Then stillness, then movement again, a pack maybe, or just your nerves. But the horse knows something. Its ears go flat, its muscles twitch. Then comes the howling. Not close, but not far either. A long, slow, mournful note that echoes down the ridge like a song for someone already dead. Your heart skips once, then twice. You tighten your grip on the reins. The trick, you've been told, is not to stop. Wolves respect motion. They hunt the still, so you lean forward and whisper the old chant. Wind above, stone below, eye to the east, and ride. The wind rises behind you. You don't look back. Your thighs ache and your spine hums like a tight bowstring, but you don't stop. Not while the wind sings low and the wolves are out there somewhere, trailing your scent like it's prophecy. The horse runs with grim resolve a steady rhythm of hooves that tells you it knows this land better than you ever will. You're just cargo now, flesh strapped to instinct, and your job is to stay awake. But even that begins to slip. The sun has dropped low on the horizon, staining the grasslands with golden light that makes shadows stretch longer than they should. Your eyes blur, shapes wobble in the distance. Is that a herd, or tents, or just the exhaustion playing tricks on you? You blink hard and mutter to yourself. A trick you picked up early. Keep your mouth moving, even if it's nonsense, even if it's just the names of every whammon post you've passed so far, or recipes you remember from childhood. Boiled dumplings, burnt millet, salted fish, burnt millet again, but your brain drifts anyway. The old writers warned you about this. It's not the bandits or the wolves that get you. It's the slow sleep. The kind that creeps behind your eyes, taps once, and slips inside like smoke. And now here it is. So you do the only thing that's ever worked. You open one eye, just the left. It's absurd, but you remember the drill. During training, they'd bind your right eye and make you ride for hours. Left eye only. Watching, blinking, learning. They said it taught the brain to split, half resting, half aware. You thought it was superstition. Then you saw a courier fall asleep with both eyes shut and ride directly into a ravine. One eye open is the rule now. Mongol riders don't stop to sleep. They learn to dream while in motion. You press your cheek to the horse's mane, letting the rhythm lull you. Your right eye falls closed. The left stays open, just barely. You catch flickers of grass, movement, the shifting color of the sky. Somewhere inside your skull, another world forms. A dream of yurts under moonlight, of a woman in green silk who never speaks, of wolves watching from the tall grass, their eyes reflecting starlight. You're not sure when the road vanishes, or if it ever existed. Then, with no warning, your horse slows. You jolt upright. Ahead, a narrow ravine cuts across your path, barely wide enough to swallow a horse, but deep enough to end your message, and your breathing, with one wrong step. The horse knew. You didn't. You blink both eyes now, hard, and you whisper thanks into the wind. Off to the right, there's a trail, barely a goat path, but wide enough if you lean to the left and trust your mount. You guide the horse around, murmuring apologies to no one in particular. After a while, the land levels out again. The sky has turned lavender, stars beginning to blink into view like distant watchfires. A small herd of sheep bleats softly somewhere nearby. You smell smoke. A post is close. You find it tucked into the folds of a hill, more hidden than most. The only sign is the low ring of iron, someone's dinner bell tied to the yurt flap, half rusted. A boy squats by the fire, boiling water in a dented copper pot. He doesn't look up when you approach, just gestures to a flat patch of earth and tosses you a scrap of cloth for your head. You sit. The fire warms your shins. The boy hands you a bowl of something gray and thick. Gruel again, maybe with marrow this time. You eat in silence. Then the station master arrives. A woman, tall, older, with a back straighter than yours has ever been. She carries herself like someone who's buried better men. Her eyes sweep over you, then your horse, then the saddlebag. She taps the bag. Any extra messages? You shake your head, but then you hesitate. The scroll, the falcon's scroll. You reach inside the bag and feel the cool smoothness of the wax seal. Still intact, still blank, except for that strange symbol. You glance at the woman again. Her eyes have not left your hands. No, you say quietly. She nods once, says nothing. Later, after the fire has died down and the boy snores softly in the corner, you lie on your side on a felt mat. The wind outside scratches gently against the yurt walls. You keep your right eye closed. Your left eye stays open. A moth dances near the coals. Somewhere outside, a horse shifts its weight. The world doesn't stop turning. But you do, just for a few minutes. You wake just before the light changes. When the world is still dipped in silver and the shadows haven't remembered how to be dark, your back aches from the felt mat. Your neck is stiff, but your mind, oddly, feels sharper than it has in days. Maybe it's the sleep with one eye open trick, or maybe it's the knowledge that you're entering the longest stretch of the route without a post for nearly 30 miles. You quietly gather your gear. The boy by the fire doesn't stir. The station master, already outside, nods toward the horses. She's unsaddled one for you. Young, muscular, and steaming slightly from the morning chill. Its eyes meet yours with the unmistakable look of a creature bred to endure more than you. You mount without speaking. She walks up beside you, holds out her hand. In it is a small bundle of dried herbs wrapped in string. For breath and memory, she says, chew slowly. You thank her, tuck it in your sash, and ride. The hills fade behind you. Now the world opens into what feels like forever. The grass thins, the wind sharpens, and then you see the first marker, a totem pole, carved, weathered. Animal figures stacked one atop the other, their eyes wide and mouths open in either agony or joy. Hard to tell. Your horse shays slightly. You soothe it with a whisper. Then, over the next ridge, you see it, the relay post built for no one. It's barely a structure, just 4 posts and a stretched hide roof, open on all sides. No station master, no supplies, just a tether line strung between 2 poles and a single saddle hanging on the hook. This is a horse swap point, remote, meant only for emergencies, or for speed. You slow the horse and dismount. The second horse is already waiting, untied, oddly, and standing completely still. It stares at you. You stare back. Then you realize something. This horse has no saddle. You step closer. Its mane is braided in a tight coil, with small wooden beads threaded through. You recognize a carved sun symbol, a courier sign. Not standard issue. Whoever last rode this horse didn't come back. You run your hand along its flank. It doesn't flinch. Then you notice the breathing. It's sensing with yours. In, out, in, out. You've heard of this. The whisper, trained ones. Horses bred for silent paths, able to sense the heartbeat of their rider and match it. Rumor said the Khan's personal messengers rode them when secrecy mattered more than speed. This wasn't meant for you, but here you are. You pull your saddle off the old horse, but pause. Do you saddle the new one? Or ride it bareback? There's no answer. But then, as if decided for you, the wind shifts, and your old horse bolts, going just like that, over the ridge and away. You're alone now. Just you, the whisper, trained horse, and the path ahead. You laugh softly. Of course. So you mount without a saddle, and the horse takes off. Not in a gallop, not at first, but in a smooth, rippling run that feels more like gliding than motion. The land flattens again. The horizon dips, then rises, and in the distance, small rock formations appear like scattered teeth half buried in earth. As you ride, your legs begin to tremble. Bareback isn't just uncomfortable, it's a full body negotiation. Every muscle, every tendon is working overtime to keep you balanced. You chew the herbs the woman gave you, bitter, sharp, and strangely cold on your tongue. And then, just ahead, a flicker of movement. Another rider. No, it's too still. As you approach, you realize it's not a person at all, but a statue, or something meant to look like one. A figure carved of stacked stones, wrapped in a red cloth at the waist. Offerings of bones and stringed beads hang from its arms. You've reached the turning point marked on the map from your boot. This is the Crook Tree. Only, It's not a tree at all. It's a cairn, a marker from older times. The leather map shows a trail curling eastward here, a hidden path through a narrow pass the official routes never use. You slow the horse, breathe, and turn east. The terrain closes around you. Hills draw close like ribs, and the wind quiets. Even the insects seem reluctant to follow. The sky narrows. Your horse doesn't hesitate. It moves as if it's been here before. Hours pass, maybe more. You lose track. There's no sun, just filtered light. The herbs you chewed start to wear off, and your vision pulses slightly. You try humming, but the sound feels wrong here. Instead, you listen. You hear your own heartbeat, the breathing of the horse, the soft clap of its hooves against stone. Then, ahead, a glint, a small silver object tied to a bush, a bell. Barely audible, no wind here, but it moves. You reach out and touch it, cool, smooth, still tied tight, a sign, you think. You're still on the path. The bell doesn't ring, not really. It just trembles. A whisper of metal on air, too soft for birdsong, too sharp for wind. But it's enough. You know what it means. You've passed into the whisper zone. The next checkpoint isn't a yurt or a post station. It's something more careful. You've heard stories from other riders. Quiet tales shared over half, empty bowls of gruel. Usually at the edge of sleep. They call them the midnight yurts. Places where words are weighed like iron, and one wrong breath gets you unhorsed and buried in silence. The bell behind you gives one faint chime as you ride on. The pass opens again just slightly, revealing a clearing surrounded by hills, too neat to be natural. At the far side stands a low, broad yurt stitched with black thread and framed with twisted driftwood poles. No smoke, no sound. You dismount carefully, boots sinking into soil that smells faintly of pine and old ashes. Your horse does not move. Its eyes are fixed on the yurt. The door isn't open. But it isn't closed either. You approach slowly, unfastening the strap on your scroll pouch, not for access, for show, to prove you have nothing else in your hands. As you near the entrance, a voice speaks, not loudly, not even clearly. It's like a breeze that accidentally shaped itself into words. Password. Your mouth goes dry. You weren't given one. You pause. Think. Then remember what the boy said at the last post when you asked why the bells were silent at night. Chinggis dreams in red. You say it aloud, and the door opens. Inside, the air is darker than outside. Smells of dried herbs, felt, and dust. A small lamp burns low, giving off more shadow than light. Two people sit cross-legged near the back. One is old, with a beard that drapes down like a horse's tail. The other is younger, face hidden beneath a scarf. Neither gestures, neither blinks. You bow, not from custom, but from instinct. Then you wait. After a moment, the older one speaks. What route? You answer. He nods. He gestures to a pot of thick soup. You shake your head. No appetite. He nods again, as if that was a test too. Then he reaches into a pouch and pulls out a packet of something wrapped in waxed paper. Slides it across the rug to you. You open it. It's a strip of hide, dyed red, with the symbol from your mystery scroll, the circle, and the line. Now the younger one speaks, barely above a breath. When the seal breaks, burn it. No horses, no words. You nod. Even if you don't understand, you understand enough. The old man smiles, just once, then says, "Leave before the second bell." You rise. They do not move again. Outside, your horse is still waiting, as if frozen in place. You mount and turn west again, heart pounding slightly now. The air feels heavier, but sharper too, like something important just shifted inside you. You don't ride fast. You ride with care. Night is falling fast. You travel along a ridge, guided only by the occasional post carved with crescent symbols. You remember the falcon, The map, the scroll, all of it seems part of some pattern you're not meant to see, only carry. Behind you, a faint bell chimes. The second one. Barely made it. As the moon rises, you stop at a creek to water the horse. You kneel to splash water on your face, and for a brief moment, your reflection looks like someone else. Someone older. Someone wearing decisions you haven't made yet. You drink deeply, then ride again. An hour later, you pass a small cluster of tents, merchant travelers, probably. A fire glows dimly, but no one speaks. One woman watches you ride by, a scarf over her face. Her eyes flick to the scroll pouch, then away. You realize something. She recognized the symbol. She doesn't stop you, doesn't wave, just disappears back into the shadow of her tent. The path forks ahead. To the left, the official route, marked with upright stones, still visible even under starlight. To the right, a narrow track winding through tall grass toward what looks like a dried riverbed. You don't hesitate. You take the right. The horse doesn't question you. Neither of you speak. You ride into the dried riverbed like slipping into an old scar. Quiet, forgotten, almost healing. The grass recedes, replaced by silty dust that crunches faintly beneath your horse's hooves. The moon above is soft and swollen, bathing the gully in gentle light. Here, even the wind seems hesitant, as if whispering would break something sacred. This isn't the official route. There are no markers here. But there is a memory in the earth. You feel it in the way your horse slows, in the sudden absence of birdsong, in the hush between hoofbeats. Stories cling to this riverbed like mist, and you start to understand why riders say the path has moods. This one, it's watchful. You press onward. For hours, the landscape barely changes. Dry banks on either side, smooth stones worn flat by water that no longer runs. The stars keep company with you, and you imagine they once watched other riders through this same corridor. You wonder how many made it, how many didn't. Then you see it. Not far ahead, tucked against the base of a jagged outcrop, something catches the moonlight, a pale object too smooth to be stone. You dismount and approach. It's a boot, half buried in the sand, fur-lined, split at the heel. Your fingers brush it, still soft. Someone lost it recently. Next to it, a smear of darkened soil. You touch it, still damp. Blood. You stand quickly, scanning the ridgeline above. Nothing moves, but you feel it again. That sensation of being watched. Your horse paws nervously, tail twitching. You've wandered into a place with a story, and it's not done telling it. You consider turning back, but the map in your boot, creased now from riding, shows this as the shortcut, the hidden path, and it's working. You've shaved a half day already. If you make it through, you'll be at the next post by sunrise, assuming the post still exists. You ride on, slower now. A few miles later, the riverbed curves into a thicket of willow trees, strange for this region. Their branches hang like threads, brushing your shoulders as you pass. The horse doesn't like it. It huffs, ears pinned back. You pull out your knife, just in case. Halfway through the thicket, you hear it, a splash. Not ahead, not behind. Beneath you. You look down, water. Just a trickle, but it wasn't there a moment ago. The riverbed is waking. You kick gently and the horse moves faster. The trickle follows. Then another splash. Then another. Something is walking in the water with you. But you don't look, not until the path opens again. And when it does, you bolt. The horse surges forward, nearly bucking, and you let it. You ride hard, breaking free of the trees, the riverbed, the creeping water. You don't stop until you see the next marker, a tall pole with strips of red cloth tied near the top, fluttering faintly. A safe zone. You slow the horse, breath heaving, throat dry. The sky is fading into dawn now. a pale pink creeping over the mountains, and just ahead, just barely visible in the thin light, is a small post station built into the side of a hill, half dug, half standing. You'd miss it if you blinked. You ride up slowly. A young man steps out from behind a curtain. His face is calm, unreadable. He nods once and leads your horse away without a word. You stumble toward the fire circle, still warm. There's no stew, no kettle, just a skin of water and a bundle of dried herbs wrapped in cloth, the same kind as before. You sit, no questions, no explanations. You chew the herbs, swallow the fear, and wait for the sun to rise over the hills like nothing ever happened. The scroll is still in your pouch, unbroken. The boot in the river stays behind, but you won't forget it, not ever. The sun rises soft and slow, slipping between two jagged peaks like it's trying not to wake the land. You sit with your knees pulled up to your chest, letting its warmth crawl over your back, drying the damp chill from your clothes. Around you, the station is nearly silent. No herders, no clanging pots, no early morning chatter. Just the wind and the faint sound of someone sweeping sand off a stone floor somewhere inside. Your new horse arrives with barely a sound. It's a sturdy bay with a thick neck and gentle eyes. Thank the spirits. You don't need another whisper, trained demon after last night. You stroke its muzzle once, and it exhales like it's been waiting for you. You mount slowly. Every muscle in your body complains. The saddle creaks beneath you like an old door. Your bones answer. The road today is colder, climbing upward toward the edge of snow country. The grass grows brittle here, and patches of frost sparkle under shaded ridges. Each breath you take fogs in the air like steam from a boiling pot. The horse's hooves crunch against frozen dirt. This is where the bells begin. You were told about this section of the route back at your first post, though it felt more like a bedtime story than a warning. The silver bells, they said, are buried beneath snowdrifts or hung in trees like forgotten earrings. They're meant to guide you when the path disappears under white silence. Don't look for them, the old courier had said. Just listen, now you understand. The wind here doesn't howl, it hums, a low, droning sound that slips around rocks and under your clothes. It lulls you toward sleep. But the bells, those faint, random chimes, snap you awake every time. The first one rings from your left, a quiet tink. So soft, you think you imagined it. Then another further ahead. You steer toward the sound without questioning. The snow thickens. It's not deep, just enough to cover the ground in patches, but it blurs everything. Paths vanish. Tracks are lies. Even your horse hesitates sometimes, stepping sideways to avoid something you can't see. Then you see one. A bell, hung from a low pine branch with a strip of red cloth. Small silver, simple. No markings. You pass beneath it, and it rings once. Your horse perks up. It knows too. You let the bells guide you. Each one is spaced just far enough to pull you forward, like links in a chain. You start to understand the old phrase, ride with your ears. The hours pass, or maybe just minutes. Time is strange here. You pass a half, buried stone post, cracked and leaning. Next to it, a small bundle of twigs tied with horsehair, an offering. You don't touch it. Just nod as you pass. Your fingers have gone numb. You chew the last of the herbs. The scroll rides quietly at your side. Still sealed, still unread. The pouch it's in has begun to stiffen from the cold. Then the wind shifts, and with it the bells go silent. No ringing, no tinks, just the sound of wind scraping snow across stone. You stop. The horse stops. You listen, nothing. You pull the leather map from your boot with frozen fingers, nearly tearing it in the process. You hold it up to the light, squinting at the faint lines. According to this, there should be a post nearby. A cave, maybe, or a hollow, a safe zone. You look around. There, a shadow against the rock face. A small depression in the hillside, just wide enough for a horse to slip into sideways. You nudge your mount forward. It hesitates, then steps in. Inside, it's not warm, but it's still. The wind dies at the entrance, and the snow stops hissing under your feet. The cave is shallow, dry, and marked with soot on the walls. Someone's been here. Maybe recently. You dismount, leading the horse to a flat spot where the floor has been scraped smooth. In the corner, a pile of ash. A bell bent and blackened lies half buried in it. You kneel beside it. Touch the metal, still cold. You build a small fire with what little you have. A few dry twigs, a bit of old jerky wrapping. It doesn't burn long, but it's enough to warm your hands. Then you notice something scratched into the wall. Words, in Persian. You don't read Persian, but you recognize one symbol, the circle, and the line, same as the scroll. You sit back on your heels. Something is moving through this route with you. Not just people, but messages, symbols, echoes. You remember the boot in the river, the woman watching from her tent, the riderless horse waiting with no saddle. You are not the first, and you are not alone. You wrap your cloak tighter, pressing your back against the wall. You let your eyes close, but just one. The left stays open. Outside, a bell rings once, then twice. The way forward is calling. You leave the cave just after the second bell chimes. No sun yet, just that strange bluish pre-dawn glow that makes everything look older than even the rocks beneath your feet. The fire's out. The bell in the ash stays behind. Your horse moves with quiet confidence, as though it too understands that whatever this scroll is, whatever rote you're following, it's not a race anymore. It's a ritual. You ride along a ridge where snow has melted into veins of ice, making the ground slick beneath the hooves. You loosen the reins, let the horse pick the way. By mid-morning, the land begins to descend again. The frost fades, the air warms, and then you see it, a silk tent low and round, ringed with painted stones. It sits alone in a flat clearing, as though it sprouted there overnight. Smoke rises from a narrow chimney, but there's no fence, no paddock, no visible guards. You slow your horse. There's no bell here, no marker, but the map in your boot, and now your memory, says this is the place. You dismount, scroll pouch slapping softly against your hip. As you approach the tent, you see a man standing at the entrance. Tall, wrapped in blue cloth from head to toe, only his eyes visible. He doesn't greet you, just lifts the flap and nods once. You step inside. The air is heavy with spices, cardamom, cloves, something bitter you can't name. Rugs cover every inch of the ground. There are scroll racks along the walls, each lined with documents in different colors, languages, and seals. At the far end sits a man with gray hair and a beard that forks at the chin. His robes shimmer faintly, Persian silk. By the look of them, he doesn't rise. But he gestures. You remove the scroll from your pouch, placing it carefully on a lacquered tray set before him. His fingers hover over the seal, the circle and line, then pull back. He doesn't break it. Instead, he taps the tray 3 times and then gestures again, this time toward a steaming cup of dark tea beside you. You sit cross-legged. Pick it up. It's hot, slightly bitter. You drink. The tent grows quieter. Then the bearded man speaks, not to you, but to the guard near the door. A language you don't know. The guard leaves. Then silence. The man studies you. You didn't open it. He finally says in flawless Mongolian. You shake your head. Didn't seem like it was mine to open. His mouth twitches. Almost a smile. It's not. He opens a drawer from the table beside him and pulls out a small wooden box. It's the same color and shape as your scroll pouch. He sets it beside the scroll, then slides it toward you. For the return, you hesitate. Return? You go back the long way, quiet path, no stations. You blink. You haven't even thought about the return. Most riders don't. Most don't make it. He sees your confusion. Not all messages travel forward, he says softly. Some must be carried backward. Some must never arrive at all. You nod. You don't understand, but you nod. You tuck the box into your bag. He pours more tea. You drink in silence. Later, outside, your horse has already been swapped. The new one is jet black, eyes calm, saddle already warm. Someone's ridden it recently. You mount. Before you leave, the man steps out from the tent. He hands you a second scroll, smaller, plain seal. For you, he says. Read it when the sky turns red. You open your mouth to ask, but he's already turned away. So you ride. You follow the path eastward now, where the soil turns softer and the sky shifts with every hour. You pass narrow valleys, old ruins, forgotten towers that look like broken teeth. You begin to lose count of the days. At night, you camp beneath low trees. Eat whatever jerky you have left. Chew on questions instead of herbs. Who was that man? What was in the scroll? Who is this message for? The black horse never hesitates. It always knows the way. And then one evening, as the sun sinks low behind the hills and the clouds bloom crimson and gold, you stop beside a shallow stream. The water murmurs over smooth stones. The wind hushes. The sky turns red. You remember the instruction. You pull out the smaller scroll, break the seal, unroll it. Inside, only a single phrase, not Persian, not Mongolian. Just 6 words written in your own language. You're not just carrying messages anymore. The stream gurgles. The wind picks up again. And somewhere behind you, a bell rings. The sound of the bell echoes long after it stops. It doesn't belong here. There are no stations in this part of the route. No yurts, no carved markers. Just you, your horse, the stream, and that one phrase folding itself deeper into your chest like it's always lived there. You're not just carrying messages anymore. You reread the scroll until the ink begins to blur from your own breath. Then roll it carefully and tuck it inside your coat. Not with the others, not with the wax-sealed ones. This one belongs closer to your ribs, closer to your questions. The black horse snorts softly and nudges your foot with its nose. Time to move. You ride as the red sky fades into indigo. You don't light a fire that night. You don't need one. The stars hang lower in this part of the world, bright enough to see by, heavy enough to feel like they're watching. You follow a narrow path that winds through sparse trees and tall reeds, the kind that rustle like whispers even without wind. You're riding slower now, not from fatigue, but from a sense that speed isn't the point anymore. Something about this leg of the journey feels different, thicker, like you're no longer on top of the land, but inside it. You stop near midnight, not because you planned to, because of the sound voices. Not ahead of you, not behind, but from the yurt just over the rise. You didn't see it before. It's low to the ground, felt pulled tight and stitched in black thread. No smoke, no lanterns. Just the faint murmur of conversation that makes your skin prickle. You leave the horse tethered and approach on foot. As you near the entrance, the words become clearer. Not your language, not even one you recognize, but you understand the tone, the cadence of secrets. You pause at the door flap. Someone inside says your name, not loudly, not shouted, just once, spoken like punctuation. You push the flap open and step inside. It's warm, too warm. The kind of heat that feels old, like it's been building for hours. There's no fire you can see, but the air smells like burnt parchment and boiled herbs. 3 people sit inside. None of them look up. One is elderly, skin like crumpled paper, eyes half closed. The second is middle-aged, fingers stained with ink. The third wears a courier's coat nearly identical to yours, except the insignia is wrong. Not outdated, not foreign, just wrong. Like it's from a version of the Empire that never existed. They do not acknowledge you, but the older one begins speaking. Not to you, to the others. And so he arrives without knowing, as expected. The one with ink-stained fingers nods slowly. He's carrying it. You reach for your pouch instinctively, but no one moves. No one tries to take it. Instead, the courier-looking one speaks. We all carried it once. Some of us still do. You glance between them. Carried what? But they don't answer directly. The old one leans forward and holds out a scrap of hide. Not rolled, not sealed. Just raw leather, softened by time. You take it. It's covered in writing, every line a different script. You recognize some the Mongolian, Persian, Sanskrit, even a few Latin letters. And scattered throughout are that same symbol circle line. No sentences, no instructions, just fragments. The courier says softly, every message is a question. Every rider is an answer. You look up. Who are you? The old one smiles gently. We're echoes. Then, without ceremony, they vanish. Not in a puff of smoke, not in a flash, they're just gone. The yurt is empty. No rugs, no fire, no doorway. You're standing in a circle of flattened grass under the open sky, stars blinking coldly above. Your heart pounds once, then again, then settles. The scrap of hide is still in your hand. You don't know what it means, but you know where it goes. You slide it into your scroll pouch, right beside the message you still haven't delivered. The horse whinnies from over the rise. You walk back slowly, and you ride on. You don't sleep that night, but your eyes don't burn anymore. Dawn comes late, or maybe you've simply outrun it. The sky remains a dull, sleepwalker gray as your horse clambers up a winding path cut into the side of a granite slope. Below, the land you crossed yesterday looks like a faded memory. Strips of frozen grass, slivers of river, a flash of red cloth hanging from a tree branch you never noticed. You reach the ridge just as the wind shifts. Not a breeze this time, not the playful push of morning air. This is a sharp, low wind that carries breath with it, not yours. The horse freezes, its ears tilt back, its tail stiffens. Then, from somewhere behind the rocks, a sound you haven't heard in days. A howl, long, slow, and terribly human. You know that sound. Every courier does. Wolves. You've heard the stories, the real ones, not the market myths. Packs that trail riders for days, testing them, watching for fatigue, learning their rhythm. Wolves that memorize the hoofbeats of tired horses and sync their hunt to the moment the rider dismounts to urinate or stretch a knee. You look around. No trees, no posts, no shelter. You urge the horse forward, but slower now. Steady. Each step lands with meaning. The path curves into a narrow defile, flanked by rock walls. You hate this kind of terrain. The wind funnels too tightly here, turning whispers into screams. Your ears strain against the gusts, listening for anything out of place. Then you hear it. Behind you. Not one howl, several, far apart. Then closer. You don't run. That's the rule. You ride steady, even as your breath catches, even as your fingers slide down to the small bone whistle tied to your belt. A charm you nearly forgot about. It was given to you during training, carved from goat horn. Not to scare the wolves, they said. To warn the land. You raise it to your lips. Blow once. No sound comes out, but your horse reacts, eyes wide, nostrils flaring. It begins to canter on its own, sensing something behind, or perhaps ahead. You grip the reins. murmur soft reassurances. Then, ahead, movement. Not wolves. A shrine. A low stone heap barely higher than your knee, with ribbons tied to sticks stuck in the cracks. A protective marker. Older than Mongols. Older than empires. You steer toward it. As you circle the shrine, your horse slows. The wind breaks. The howling stops. Silence returns like a forgotten friend. You dismount and press your palm to the stone. It's warm. Beneath the heap, a pouch. Tucked just between two slabs, you slide it out. It's not addressed to you, but there's no seal. Inside, a note. Leave the red cloth when you pass the tree, and beneath it a name, yours. You stand still, very still. Then, without hesitation, you pull the red ribbon from your saddlebag. The one tied around the falcon's scroll. You'd almost forgotten it was there. You nod once, remount, and ride. Hours later, as the terrain descends again, you spot it. A lone, crooked tree on a small rise, bark blackened. One branch broken and hanging like a dislocated arm. You ride to it, tie the red cloth to the broken limb, and feel the wind stop altogether. No wolves, no watchers. Just the sound of your own breathing, soft and even. When you ride again, the horse is lighter. So are you. Even the scroll pouch feels different, less like a burden, more like a heartbeat. The air grows heavy with moisture the moment you leave the crooked tree behind. The land descends into a wide, flat valley, but the sky presses downward, low and pale and yellow-gray, like a soup left too long on the fire. The smell hits you first, sour, thick, and damp. Rotting wood, wet leather, horse sweat baked under wet cloth. You've entered the jungle fringe. It doesn't look like much at first, just a cluster of trees, some vines dangling lazily across the trail. But a mile in, it swallows you whole. The light dims, the wind dies, even the sounds change. No more dry rustle of grass or snow, choked silence. Now it's buzz and drip and squelch. Your black horse snorts with clear disgust as its hooves sink ankle deep into sticky mud. You shift in the saddle, feeling everything soften. Your saddle pad, your cloak, your mood. The scroll pouch clings to your side like a damp sponge. This isn't the kind of terrain couriers love. It's the kind they endure. You think of the stories, riders slipping off mold, slick rocks, horses snapping legs in mud holes disguised as puddles. Some never made it to their posts. Others returned too early, pale and trembling, mumbling about shadows that moved on two legs. It doesn't help that your route map offers no clarity here, just a smear of ink labeled So UHKUT, with a jagged arrow and two faint dots. One of those dots, you assume, is the next post. If it hasn't collapsed, you press on. Bugs swarm in clouds, tiny, furious things that dive for your eyes, your ears, your mouth. You wrap a cloth over your face and squint through the heat. Even your thoughts feel wet. The trail turns to a swamp path, planks half submerged in algae, slick puddles, tied together with rope that's already rotting. Your horse hesitates. You dismount, grabbing the reins and walking ahead, boots slipping. The earth makes sucking noises beneath each step, like it wants to pull you under and keep you. By mid-afternoon, your clothes are soaked, your scrolls are double, wrapped in all cloth, and your nerves are thin as rice paper. Then you smell it. Smoke, but not the dry, crackling kind you're used to. This is rich, thick, smelling of wet bamboo and something else, onion, maybe, a meal. Your stomach growls with such desperation that you laugh out loud. You follow the scent off the trail, through a curtain of vines, and into a clearing. A single yurt, slouched like a drunken man, leans beside a sagging shelter made of palm leaves. Two chickens peck at nothing in particular. A dog snores beside a pile of firewood, and an elderly man squats in front of a wide clay bowl, stirring something with a carved wooden ladle. He glances up. Says nothing, just points to a patch of dry ground. You sit. The fire crackles softly. The pot bubbles. He ladles the soup, if it can be called that, into a shallow bowl made from half a gourd. It's thick, greenish, studded with something that might be roots or slugs. You don't ask. You eat. It tastes like warm socks soaked in onion water, but it's hot, and it fills your chest like kindness. The man watches you, then points to your pouch. You hesitate, then pull out the falcon's scroll. He squints at the seal, says nothing. Then he stands, limps inside the yurt, and returns with a bottle. He pours a single drop onto the seal. Nothing happens. Then the seal turns black. He nods, almost approvingly. Then he wraps the scroll in a scrap of red fabric, brighter than the last, and hands it back to you with one firm word, north. You frown. Not east. He repeats, north, then adds hill sleeps, water watches. And that's all. You remount, soggy, fed, confused. But north it is. You follow a trail barely wide enough for a deer, let alone a courier. The sounds of the swamp follow you for a long time, buzzing, dripping, croaking, and then begin to fade. As the air dries, and the bugs retreat, and your horse starts to walk faster, and the land begins at last to rise. The land lifts beneath your horse's hooves like the breath of something ancient. The soggy jungle floor hardens. The vines loosen. The air sharpens. You don't realize how long you've been leaning forward, bracing against muck, squinting through steam, until you straighten your back and feel your spine pop. You're out. Not fully, not cleanly, but out enough. The path north climbs in a slow spiral, wrapping around low hills overgrown with wild shrubs and tall yellow grass. The trail isn't marked, but the wind changes. It starts moving again, not in gusts, but in long, steady exhales that feel like someone exhaling through the hills. The black horse stretches into a full trot for the first time in hours. You let it. The saddle squeaks wet and miserable, but you feel a flicker of hope in your ribs. For the first time in days, you can see far again. Not just the road in front of you, but the horizon, the shapes of hills layered like folded silk, the pale sky beginning to turn blue again. Then, tucked into the curve of the next rise, you see a structure. Not a yurt, a stone building, unusual. Courier stations, even the remote ones, are rarely made of stone. Too heavy, too still. But this one is different, small, square, with wooden beams wedged into the cracks like extra arms holding it together. Moss grows over the roof. A tangle of tall grass climbs halfway up the walls. But there's smoke rising from a side chimney. You dismount, approach slowly. The door opens before you knock. A woman stands inside, wrapped in a long green robe with white trim at the sleeves. Her face is bare, calm. Her hair tied in a knot that looks too ceremonial to be accidental. She doesn't smile, but she doesn't frown either. Come, she says. The horse will be taken. You step inside. It's cool, dim, quiet. The floor is tiled, strange, and your boots leave muddy prints that seem to offend the silence. She leads you down a short hallway into a room with a low table, a scroll rack, a kettle already steaming. You sit cross-legged on a woven mat. She pours tea. It smells floral with a sour edge. You sip. It's warm, sharp. You cough once, then nod. She watches you a moment, then speaks. How long have you been carrying it? You blink. Carrying what? Her eyes flick toward your pouch. The seal with the mark. You pause. Then draw out the falcon's scroll. Unwrap the red cloth. She doesn't touch it. Just looks. Then leans forward, her sleeves falling like soft curtains. Do you know who it's for? You shake your head. She lifts her tea and sips. Then says, "It was written by someone who never spoke aloud, and it's for someone who's forgotten how to listen." You stare at the scroll. She continues. Many riders carried it, but most lost the way, or gave it up, or broke the seal too early. You instinctively grip it tighter. Why me? She shrugs. Maybe because you haven't asked the wrong questions yet. You don't know what that means, but you finish your tea anyway. She stands, walks to a shelf, pulls down a small black box. When she opens it, you see dozens of rings, thin, plain, each marked with a different symbol. She selects one. A circle, a line, same as your scroll. She hands it to you. Wear it. You slide it on your finger. It fits perfectly. She looks at you for a long time, then says, "Ride west now." Not far. When the hill flattens and the air sharpens again, you'll find her. You blink. Her? But she's already walking away. You leave without another word. Outside, your black horse is waiting, cleaned, rested, saddled. Someone fed it, brushed it, braided the tail, and tied a single green silk thread around the bridle. You mount, turn west, and ride. The air cools. The trail flattens, and your heartbeat starts to match the rhythm of the hooves, as though the horse has known this road forever, as though something, or someone, is waiting. The trail west starts as a wide dirt ribbon, winding gently along the crest of a long, sloping hill. Your horse moves with quiet certainty, each step falling into place like it's been rehearsed. You've stopped checking the horizon for posts or riders. You don't glance at your map. You simply follow. The green silk thread on the bridle flutters with each breeze. You watch it absently, wondering who tied it, wondering what she meant by "you'll find her." The land opens. The grass grows taller. The sky stretches wider, and then the path narrows again. Not because it has to, but because that's the way these stories go. Wide plains always lead to narrow choices. You pass between two tall standing stones, weathered with time and cracked down the middle. At their base are small piles of rice, beads, bits of cloth, offerings from other riders maybe, or other travelers. You drop a fragment of dried horse jerky near one and whisper something you don't quite mean, but still believe. On the other side of the stones, the ground flattens into a long, straight stretch, uninterrupted and shockingly smooth. Your horse immediately breaks into a steady canter, and you let it. Wind fills your sleeves. The reins feel like extensions of your own arms, and then far ahead a shape, a figure, standing alone, not beside a post, not in a camp, just there, still, waiting. As you approach, you see her clearly tall, draped in green silk that flutters gently. No armor, no bow, no horse. Her hands are folded in front of her, and her gaze never wavers. You stop a dozen paces away. She says nothing. Neither do you. Until she speaks, "You came the long way." Her voice is low, calm, not accusing. You nod. She tilts her head. You have the scroll. You reach for it, but hesitate. "How did you know?" "I wrote it." You freeze. She steps closer. "You carried it farther than anyone else." She says, "You didn't break the seal. You didn't bargain it away. You didn't ride past your own shadow. You still haven't moved." She smiles, not wide, but deep, like something soft cracking open after a long winter. "Give it to me," she says, "and I will give it back." You hand her the scroll. Her fingers are warm, solid. She studies the seal, then presses her thumb to the wax. It doesn't break. It melts, without fire. The wax slides off like tears, and the scroll unfurls in her hands. Though you never see her move, she reads silently, then turns it toward you. Blank. No ink, no marks. Just an empty page. Your chest tightens. "I don't understand." She nods. "You weren't meant to. You were meant to carry it." She lets the scroll drop, and it doesn't fall. It vanishes, dissolves into the air like breath on glass. She holds out her hand. You take it without thinking, and she presses something into your palm. A seed. Small, black, weightless. What do I do with this? She smiles again. When you stop writing, you close your fingers around it. When you open them, she's gone. No footsteps. No sign. Just the wind and a feeling behind your ribs. You climb back into the saddle slowly, blinking at the horizon. There's no clear path anymore, but the horse begins to walk, and you let it, because maybe now you don't need a map. You ride for a while in silence. Then, just as the sun begins to drop and the light turns to gold, you hear something. Behind you. The sound of hooves. You look back, a rider in the distance. Just one. Wrapped in blue, traveling light. You can't see their face. But they're holding a scroll and following your path. The rider follows you at a steady pace for the rest of the day, never gaining, never falling behind. A blue figure blurred by distance, swaying with the rhythm of the trail. You don't try to lose them. There's no sense in it. You're beyond that kind of fear now. Besides, you know what they carry. Another message. Maybe even the same one. You stop at dusk beside a dry creek bed, just before the land dips into a forested ravine. You dismount, stretch your legs, roll your shoulders. The black horse drops its head and begins to graze lazily on sparse patches of grass. The light softens around you, all amber and hush. You glance back once. The rider has stopped too, still distant, still watching. You sit on a flat rock and reach for your pouch. No scroll, no map, just the small black seed. You roll it between your fingers, smooth, cold, utterly ordinary, except for the weight it carries. Not physical, but real all the same. You remember her words. When you stop writing. What does that mean, exactly? Will you know? You pocket the seed and reach into your side satchel. There's something else you haven't thought about in hours. A tiny wooden vial with ink so old it smells like charcoal. A spare piece of parchment, soft and sun-faded, folded in thirds and forgotten at the bottom of your kit. You draw them out. Your fingers move before your mind does. You begin to write. Not a report, not a letter. Something simpler. You write about the wind, the bells, the boot in the river, the sound of wolves, the yurt that vanished, the woman who smiled, and the message with no message at all. You finish as the last light slips behind the hills and the forest begins to hum with night sounds. Crickets wind through trees, the occasional distant crack of a branch. You fold the paper, seal it with wax from your emergency candle. You don't stamp it. You don't need to. You leave it on the rock beside your fire, weighed down with a single pebble. Maybe the rider will take it. Maybe not. You sleep that night with both eyes closed. For the first time in days, no dreams, no wolves. Just breath, just stillness. In the morning, the letter is gone. The rider is not, but their hoofprints are. Heading west, you mount again. The path feels lighter now. You ride until midday, when the plains end and the cliffs begin, sharp teeth of limestone that jut upward into a pale sky. The trail narrows again, winding like a ribbon unspooling from a careful hand. Then, at the base of the cliffs, you find a pile of stones arranged in a spiral. No sign, no marker, just a pattern. You circle it once with your horse, then again. The third time, you dismount. You press your hand to the center stone, and without knowing why, you whisper, "I'm ready." You don't expect an answer, but you feel it anyway. The seed in your pouch pulses once, like a heartbeat, and the trail ahead shimmers ever so slightly, as if something just opened. You follow the shimmer without asking what it is. The path climbs, narrow and rough, pressed into the spine of the cliffs, like a vein carved by time. The wind here tastes of salt, though you haven't seen the sea in weeks, and something else beneath it. like old smoke, like singed paper. The cliffs don't echo, they absorb. Even the hoofbeats sound quieter, muffled by stone that feels less like ground and more like the edge of something bigger than you. You pass shrines now, not the roadside kind, but built into the rock. Alcoves carved into the cliffs, each one housing a single items, a cracked bowl, a feather, a pouch of sand, a bone comb. Messages left in object form, messages only meant to be seen, not read. You pause at one, a mirror, simple, round, set into the wall with wax. You see yourself, but not as you are now, as you were before the journey began. Different posture. The mirror fogs. You ride on. Hours later, you come to a plateau, flat, wide, empty except for a small campfire burning with no one nearby. You dismount. There's a pot hanging over the flame. Inside, tea, still hot, still steeping. Next to it, a low stool. And beside that, a box. Not large, not locked. Just waiting. You don't touch it right away. You sit, sip the tea. It tastes familiar, floral with that same bitter bite as the cup you drank at the stone station with the woman in green. But softer now, less sharp, like it's learned something since then. The box waits. Eventually, you open it. Inside a parchment, a map, but not a rote map. A memory map. Lines not drawn to guide your steps, but to show where you've already been. You trace the path, the cave, the bell, the crooked tree, the jungle post with the soup that tasted like socks. It's all there, but something new appears at the end of the route, a name, yours, written in tiny, careful script. Below it, one sentence. You can return now if you still want to. The fire crackles. Your horse lifts its head and watches you. You realize, suddenly, that this is what the other riders meant, the ones who never came back. Not that they died, that they chose to stay. Out here, past the maps, past the orders, past the scrolls. You reach into your pouch and pull out the seed, still cool, still pulsing. You dig a small hole in the dirt beside the fire. You plant it, cover it gently, and you whisper to it. Not a message, not a name, just breath. Then you stand, mount the horse, and ride back toward the trail. At the edge of the plateau, something catches your eye. You look back. Where the seed is buried, a single sprout has appeared, thin, green, already reaching upward. The wind picks up again. It feels new this time, like a beginning. The trail back doesn't feel like back at all. It loops through a pine-covered ridge where the trees lean just slightly inward, like they've grown curious about the riders passing beneath. Needles fall in slow motion, scattering across your shoulders and into the folds of your cloak. The air smells sharper now, pine resin, cracked bark, and that faint tinge of memory you can't name. You no longer think in days or miles. You think in weight, in silence, in the steady rhythm of hooves over dirt that remembers every rider who ever passed this way. The sky darkens earlier than expected, clouds rolling in from the east, low and violet, gray. A few drops of rain tap against your saddle, then more. Within minutes, it's a curtain, fine, cold, and unhurried. The black horse keeps moving, unbothered, trusted. You look ahead and see a flicker of light. At first, you think it's another yurt. But it's smaller, a canvas lean to stretched between two poles, with a shielded fire just beneath the flap. There's a figure seated cross, legged beside it, boiling something in a blackened pot. As you approach, they don't move. You dismount. Your boots squish into moss. The figure lifts their head slightly. It's a man, older, face hidden beneath the hood of a soaked cloak. But even from a few paces away, you recognize the detail. His left eye is sealed shut with an old scar, long, pale, diagonal. You know that scar, not his specifically, but the type. You've heard of them, the one-eyed riders, the ones who mastered the art of sleeping with one eye open. and paid for it. He gestures toward the fire without a word. You sit. He pours you a bowl of something hot and murky. Fish, maybe. Root vegetables that barely survive the boil. You eat it, not for the taste, but for the warmth. The rain falls harder. More riders arrive. 3, then 5. They appear like ghosts, slipping out of the trees, each one wrapped in old courier coats, scarves pulled high, eyes sunken from distance. You count the scars. Every single one has it, left side. Some fresh, some old. They sit in a ring. No one speaks. No one needs to. This is not a gathering. It's a return. One of them sets down a bundle beside the fire, unwraps it slowly. Inside he scrolls, cracked, faded, some opened, some still sealed. One scroll bears a wax stamp in the shape of a falcon, the same as yours. You reach for your pouch, but it's empty. The scroll's gone, vanished, and yet here it is. Or one just like it. The oldest rider, his braids streaked with gray, nods at you. Then he speaks. The only words spoken that night. All carried, all broken, all planted. You sit back. The fire snaps, and the rain softens into a steady rhythm above your head. You sleep beneath that lean-to, not from exhaustion, but from arrival. When you wake, the riders are gone. The scrolls are gone. The fire is out. Only the black horse remains, waiting patiently under the trees. You mount, and for the first time in the entire journey, you ask aloud, "Where to now?" The horse doesn't answer, but it begins to walk, and you follow, not forward, not backward, just on. The path now is barely a path at all, just a thin trace of crushed grass meandering between trees that seem undecided about whether they're forest or meadow. Mist clings to the ground, curling around your horse's legs like old stories reluctant to let go. There are no more stations, no more bells, no signs, just you and the trail, and even the trail seems hesitant, fading and reappearing like it's testing your memory. You ride slower now, not out of caution, but because there's nowhere urgent to be. Not anymore. The pouch at your side is empty. You still reach for it sometimes, muscle memory, but each time your fingers touch the flap, they fall away gently. It's not yours to carry anymore. You remember the stone shrine, the crooked tree, the woman in green. You remember the look in her eyes when she took the scroll. Not gratitude, not awe, but recognition. You remember the words she gave you. And I will give it back. And now, as the fog clears for a moment, you see it. A tree, not twisted or charred like the others before, but tall, straight, pale, leaves of gold shimmer at its crown, even in this soft light. At its base, a low bench carved from a single slab of stone, and on the bench, her. She's waiting. Same robe, same quiet. You dismount, approach. She pats the bench beside her. You sit. The silence is comfortable, not heavy, like sitting beside a fire you don't need to tend. Then she reaches into her sleeve, pulls out something small. She presses it into your hand. A scroll, not sealed, not written on, just a simple roll of parchment wrapped in green thread. You're ready now, she says. You hold it gently. Ready for what? She smiles. To write it. The wind moves through the tree behind you, and for a moment, you feel the weight of everything you've carried and realize it was never about the scroll. It was about becoming the kind of person who could carry one. You nod, unroll the parchment, and begin to write, not in words you've been taught, but in the ones that come from your ribs. The path, the bells, the rivers, the riders with one eye open, the horse that knew when to run, and the seed, always the seed. When you finish, you roll it up, tie it with the green thread. She places a hand on your shoulder. You don't look back as you leave. There's no need. You ride down the hill with a scroll that no one asked you to carry, but that you now know must be passed on. You ride lighter, and as the horizon opens again, you see it, a distant figure. Another rider, moving slow, looking lost. You ride toward them, not fast, just steady, because now it's your turn to hand it off. The trail fades behind you, folding softly into the hush of memory. Your horse walks now, calm and slow, hooves muffled by moss and evening light. The scroll is tucked safely at your side, not a burden, not a mission. Just part of your breath now. The forest hums gently around you. A bird calls once, then quiets. The wind calms the leaves overhead like a lullaby. You let your shoulders drop. Let your thoughts soften. Let your heartbeat settle into something slower, steadier. Ahead, the sky melts from blue into velvet. A single star appears. Then another. You're not in a hurry anymore, because the journey didn't end at the message. It began with the rider, and now you know how to carry more than a scroll. You know how to carry yourself. So take one last deep breath. Feel the cool of evening in your lungs. The saddle beneath you. The soft weight of what you've learned, gently pressing inward, not heavy, not sharp, just there. Like a quiet truth, you're safe. The wolves are far behind. The bells have done their job. The next rider is out there, waiting. And you've done enough for now. Close your eyes, if they haven't already. Let the horse walk a little longer in your dreams. The message is still moving. Even in sleep, even in silence, even now.